This has been quite a journey. 5 years these pandas have been here, of course, mom and dad, and then two babies. What has this been like for the Toronto Zoo?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's kind of surreal to think that 5 years is up. But we received Dame Mao and Ershun in 2013, and our sole purpose was to become part of the conservation breeding program, and we knew we only had 5 years to get it done. When Dame Mao first arrived, he was actually not sexually mature, so that's when we reached out to China and said, well, for Ershun's first estrus, would you consider flying in giant panda semen so that we could do an insemination? And they said yes, which was a first, so that was incredible. So we proceeded to do artificial insemination with Ershun in 2014, and it turned into be a pseudo-pregnancy or false pregnancy, which is not uncommon. And then 2015, our second kick of the can, and we did try to introduce Ershun and Dame Mao between a barrier to see if they liked each other, because obviously natural breeding is what we would have preferred. But Dame Mao was kind of getting into the groove, and Ershun was a bit aggressive, so we didn't want to risk any injury. And that's when we proceeded with artificial insemination for our second time. And this time we used actually semen from Dame Mao and also the frozen thawed semen, so kind of pooled. And in September, our vets were doing voluntary ultrasound.
Right.
And that's when they detected a heartbeat.
Ta-da!
Crazy. Then, a week later, they continued to try to monitor the fetus, a second heartbeat. So we knew we were getting twins. And that's when it all got really even crazier.
And that being a first for Canada, for the Toronto Zoo,
Yep.
so huge for you guys. What is this now going to mean for other animals? We know that 2 Siberian Tigers are coming in June, a male and a female. Obviously, the hope is that there will be some breeding. So what does that mean when we're looking down the road to helping these animals that are on the endangered species
Yeah,
list?
so when the pandas arrived in 2013, they were actually listed as endangered, and I'm really excited to say that in 2016, they were actually downgraded to vulnerable. That's what we want to see. Our whole mandate at the zoo is conservation, education, and research, and so us being able to contribute to giant pandas and have them here when they were downlisted to vulnerable is definitely a step in the right direction. But that is, again, what we do. So when we had pandas here, it allowed us to tell the story of all the other programs we're involved with: breeding black-footed ferrets, Vancouver Island marmots, loggerhead shrikes, Puerto Rican crested toads, all for the sole purpose of reintroducing those animals back into the wild.
Right.
And we're not going to stop now that pandas are moving on. We're bringing in Amur or Siberian tigers. Funny enough, they are listed as endangered. So hopefully when we have them here, we'll have them here more long term. We'll be part of the species survival plan, which means that we're just basically working with everyone cooperatively to ensure a healthy genetic captive population.
Right.
And hopefully we'll see them get downlisted as well. There's actually only around 500 and more tigers left in the wild.
Wow.
So they're really endangered,
So obviously
and
need.
our focus is going to be on them, but our focus is on all the endangered species we have in our collection.
Coming back to the pandas now, they're going to be making a long journey,
Yeah.
heading to Calgary for their second stint, if you will, in Canada, 5 years at the Calgary Zoo. What is that whole process going to be like? 'Cause it's about 12 hours from start to finish by the time they go from crate to crate.
Yeah, so in any animal shipment, the focus is obviously the animals and making it as smooth and as easy for them as possible. We have a positive training program here with all of our animals, and giant pandas is not. It's the same thing.
Okay.
So we have the enclosures that they'll be traveling in, and it's all about getting them used to the enclosures. It's called crate training. It's no different than you crate training your dog at home. It's a positive place for them to be. They get treats when they go in, and it feels really cozy and comfy for them. We actually had one of the enclosures that they would be traveling in the South exhibit, just so they could smell it and see it, and within 20 minutes Ershun was eating bamboo inside it. The cubs were actually, Pampa was on top, climbing on top of it.
So they're thinking, this is great.
So this is an enrichment toy.
Right.
This is awesome.
Right.
So through that, and that's why we're actually closing the exhibit to date. It's the last time that the public can come and see our giant pandas, because after that, our focus is the animals and the shipment, and crossing our T's and dotting our I's and working out all the logistics with our Calgary colleagues just to make sure that it goes as smooth as possible.
So when do they officially start the travel?
So we're still working on those
Okay.
details. It's kind of a moving target at this point, but that's what we're going to be focusing now.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at all the final logistics and everything at the end of starting tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, we just had someone come in here that was really excited because he wants to see the pandas. Advice to Calgary in terms of what they need to do with these 4 amazing animals, because of course I think that the hope is that there'll be some more breeding that happens out there.
Yes, for sure. So we work very closely with our colleagues in Calgary, so that's great. We've actually had 2 of the Calgary panda keepers come here, and they've worked for a week at a time, shadowing our keepers, getting to know the personalities, etc. And our senior keeper will actually be flying with them with one of our vets when they go to depart, and also spending a week in Calgary to help with that transition. Okay. So we're really doing everything we can. The biggest thing that I say to Calgary is bamboo.
Yes.
Bamboo, bamboo,
they
bamboo.
Love their bamboo.
They love their bamboo.
Yeah.
They're bamboo eating machines, and they can be quite finicky. So we're actually planning all of that as well. It's not just the animals, we're planning as much bamboo that they're used to eating here to go there, so that there's a transition period of them being introduced to other species of bamboo.
Right.
So it's all a transition period, and it's all we're anticipating it goes amazingly smooth.
And coming back to the zoo for you guys, I mean, we know that the pandas, a huge draw, some hits and some misses in terms of numbers and revenue that came in. A little bit of criticism in terms of a lot of focus was put on the pandas, not as much focus in other areas of the zoo. So what's next now for the zoo? We know that the tigers are coming, but what's next in terms of where the focus is going to be on sort of upgrading some of the other areas of the zoo to continue to bring that draw of tourists?
Yeah, so I actually don't agree with those comments that we didn't focus on just pandas. We have a huge collection out there, and being the curator of mammals, I focus on all mammals that are under my charge. But we also just finished a strategic plan and a master plan, so the focus is obviously to start focusing on that and get that moving forward, and that has a totally different look and feel. But it still doesn't take away from what our mandate is conservation, education, and research, and we've been doing it for years, and we'll continue to do it.
Well, obviously with these pandas, you guys have made major headway, and I think it's just moving up from here, as you say. Maria, thank you so much for talking to me
today.
Thank you. And we love the pandas.
I know.
Bye-bye pandas.
There's one big happy family.
That's one very big happy family, absolutely.